Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Leigha Simonton, U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Texas, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Special Agent in Charge of ATF Dallas, Jeff Boshek, and Dallas Police Chief Eddie Garcia. Curbing violent crime is one of the most important functions and goals of the Justice Department, our U.S. Attorney's Office, and our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners. Given a foothold, violent crime rips through communities. Our neighbors turn into casualties. Talk to any violent crime survivor and they'll tell you their blood pressure never quite returns to normal. Once you've been victimized, life always feels precarious, no matter where you go. The Justice Department is here to prevent that. By working with our law enforcement partners, we have been very successful in this district in reducing violent crime. And today I am here with Special Agent in Charge Boshek and Chief Garcia to emphasize that as successful as our efforts have been, we are never satisfied with what we have done. Instead, we constantly look for ways to reduce violent crime even more, and we work together in doing that. As a result of that long-time joint effort in focusing on violent crime, our district consistently ranks among the top 5 districts in the nation out of 94 for gun crime cases filed. Our conviction rate in this area stands at 97%, 4 percentage points higher than the national average. Over the past 5 years, we've convicted around 400 firearm offenders each year, and this year we're on track to convict substantially more than that. Of course, statistics aren't the be-all, end-all. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people committing crimes, but some are more dangerous than others. It's not just how many people we prosecute, but who. As Attorney General Garland has emphasized, we must focus on the community impact of a prosecution and pursue those that would have the greatest impact in our areas. That's why I'm proud to announce Operation Take Aim, a joint initiative with ATF Dallas and the Dallas Police Department that zeroes in on the offenders we believe are most likely to commit violence. Javier Suttles is one such offender. In the years before he came to our attention, Mr. Suttles committed and pled guilty in the state system to not just 1, but 2 robberies. One of them was an aggravated robbery. For those crimes, he was placed on deferred adjudication and community supervision. He was given these chances, but he did not take advantage of them. Instead, the federal complaint in this case details that Mr. Suttles allegedly went on to commit 3 armed robberies over the course of just 5 days in late May. Each time he brandished a handgun with an extended magazine and menaced the store's employees. Once he threatened to kill an employee. Another time he warned he would shoot up the entire store. In one particularly awful incident, Mr. Suttles, apparently frustrated that there wasn't more cash on the premises, allegedly ordered an employee into the bathroom and forced the employee to strip naked. Luckily, that person was able to escape safely from the situation before being seriously hurt. Mr. Suttles was arrested by the Dallas Police Department just a few hours after his 3rd robbery, and they found a handgun with an extended magazine on him. It was something he never should have had, much less used, as a person who is already under community supervision for his prior violent crimes. So my office charged him via criminal complaint with 2 federal crimes: interference with commerce by robbery and brandishing a firearm during a crime of violence. And this past week, less than 30 days after he committed his 3rd robbery, the federal grand jury returned a 2-count indictment charging him with these same crimes. Mr. Suttles made his initial appearance in federal court on Friday afternoon. Although he's presumed innocent until proven guilty, if convicted, he faces up to 27 years in federal prison. And one of these crimes carries a 7-year mandatory minimum. Violent crime has been and is still a serious concern in virtually all major American cities. But what you also have in Dallas and other North Texas cities is a coordinated approach between federal and local law enforcement to target violent offenders and prevent serious injury or death. Operation Take Aim focuses on attacking the problem strategically. In the past, our coordinated approach has focused primarily on crime hotspots, an approach that worked remarkably well. Now, we're also zeroing in on specific offenders at risk of violent recidivism. This includes focusing on prosecuting those with a history of violence who go on to attempt more violent conduct, and on deterring those at highest risk of reoffending from committing another violent crime. I know Chief Garcia will speak in more detail about the Dallas Police Department's Focused Deterrence Program, which uses a combination of deterrence, incapacitation by arrest, and a menu of alternatives to violence. It is funded in part through a grant from the Justice Department. We want to emphasize to the community that the feds, the U.S. Attorney's Office, ATF, DEA, FBI, and our other federal partners have always supported and will continue to back up Chief Garcia in his efforts, just as we support all of the other state and local law enforcement in the Northern District of Texas. So when you commit a crime, all of us are on the case. And together we have the manpower, the technology, and the expertise to apprehend you, prosecute you, and put you behind bars to keep you from further harming our community. To bring this message home to the people who need to hear it most, 2 weeks ago I spoke at the Dallas Police Department's inaugural Focused Deterrence session to a group of this city's violent offenders who were at most risk of reoffending. I reminded them that committing another violent crime or using a gun in the commission of a crime is a really bad idea. The feds are ready to take those cases. And federal crimes carry particularly stiff sentences with no possibility of parole. My message was this: if we believe someone presents a heightened risk of continued violence, we will take their case federally. That is what Mr. Suttles' case represents. Of course, prosecutions aren't the only tool in our tool belt. Like DPD's Focused Deterrence Program, our office holds events in Dallas and Tarrant counties called reentry nights for people in the state criminal justice system to encourage them to pursue an education or another productive path in life and to deter them from committing another crime. We also frequently participate in community initiatives such as those held by the Lake Highlands Public Improvement District, and also support Mayor Johnson's Summer of Safety program. We plan to participate in even more of these initiatives and have already had productive meetings with a number of nonprofits doing important work in this space. Our prosecutors and staff relish participating in these kinds of programs with adults and kids alike. We've even adopted a school in our Project Safe Neighborhoods hotspot. As Attorney General Garland has long said, building trust in the community and investing in intervention programs are key to reducing violent crime. But when the criminals come, my office has been and will continue to be ready to prosecute. Thank you.
How's everybody doing? Hope everybody had a good weekend. I'm Jeff Boshek with ATF. It's hard to follow something like that, right? It's easy to be the special agent in charge of ATF in the Northern District of Texas because of the support of the United States Attorney's Office here. Those stats are fantastic. What I like best is I've been here for a little over 5 years, and those stats were 5-year stats, so it makes me pretty happy that we continue to lead the country in firearms prosecutions here in North Texas. It's easy to do when you work with chiefs like Chief Eddie Garcia right here, and Chief Sal Jones, and Chief Neil Noakes, and everybody else in the North Texas community that's committed to reducing violent crime around the region. Nowhere in the country, and you can quote this, is there the support and the cooperation amongst the federal prosecutors, state prosecutors, police departments, and the feds like it is here in North Texas. It is a great place to work. Every day, about 130 people lose their lives to firearms violence across this country. 130 people every single day die because of firearms violence in this country across the United States of America. There's something wrong with that. We are up here committed to doing our part in this area to stop that here in the Dallas region. One is one too many. This man, Mr. Suttles, he went on a crime spree, and with some great police work by the Dallas Police Department, he's now in handcuffs. Nothing subtle about Mr. Suttles. This guy was a danger, a menace, the worst of the worst. That's who we're committed to going after. We all like to go to Brahms Restaurant, right? What's more Texas than having a milkshake and a cheeseburger at a Brahms? until this dude walks in, right? Until he walks in and he points a gun at somebody, and that causes lifetime trauma. Every one of these cases that we work together on causes trauma to someone somewhere. We're committed to putting these people in jail. ATF's doubled down here in Dallas. Our agents, unlike most places around the country, sit with Dallas homicide. Our agents don't go to work with nothing but a bunch of feds. Every day, ATF special agents walk into the Dallas Police Department and sit with Dallas homicide to solve the most violent cases that affect our communities. I'm very proud of that relationship, and I think that starts from the top, and I thank you for that, Chief Garcia. We won't change what we do around here. We're doing the same thing in Fort Worth. We're doing the same thing in Arlington and all the cities around here to make these bad guys known. We're all part of the Chief's programs, focused deterrence. This isn't just lip service from the feds. It's not just lip service. We are out there committed to these things. We're committed to helping to make Dallas and North Texas a safer community. Thank you for your time.
So good morning. First, I want to thank the U.S. Attorney's Office and ATF Dallas Field Division for their continued partnership and their commitment to making our community safer. You know, I often say the relationship that we have here in Dallas with my federal partners is different than any relationship that I've ever had. In talking to my chiefs and colleagues around the country, it's a collaboration that does not exist everywhere. As you saw, if you heard from the example with regards to the lack of accountability, when our state system lets us down, when our state system lets our communities down and our neighborhoods down, we have nowhere else to turn than to our U.S. Attorney's Office. And I'm grateful and thankful for the partnership. Thank you so much. It's through this partnership and the great police work of our agencies that this violent criminal is now behind bars. As I said before, it's no secret that violent crime is rising in many large American cities. But as a result of the hard work of the men and women of our agencies, along with the community and city leaders, violent crime continues to trend downward in the city of Dallas. It takes all of us to fight and prevent crime and criminal activity. In Dallas, we have a three-pronged approach in our violent crime reduction plan. It comes through targeted police enforcement in our most violent areas, in our most critical neighborhoods. It comes from working to identify the underlying causes and root problems in those areas, then working with other city departments like code enforcement, the city attorney's office, the Office of Homeless Solutions, the Office of Integrated Public Safety Solutions to instill positive change and improve any poor living conditions. And it comes from our long-term strategy of focused deterrence. Rather than being place-based strategy, focused deterrence is a person-based methodology and has shown to reduce violence since the 1990s across the U.S. As I often say, we need to reinvest in people and places. It's a program that perhaps one day would benefit a client like Javier Suttles. Through our law enforcement intelligence, we know that violence in this city is being driven by repeat chronic offenders, many associated with gangs who have lengthy criminal records. Our program uses impartial data analysis to identify persons who are most at risk to commit violent crime within our city. It doesn't matter if they commit acts of violence themselves, with a gang, a crew, a posse, or whoever they hang out with. We have made it our business to learn about individuals causing violence in Dallas. We've also made it our business to make sure that they have resources to succeed if they choose to participate once they re-enter our city. We know sometimes people commit crimes because of underlying reasons that have little or nothing to do with the actual crime. So the Dallas Police Department has developed partnerships and organizations, specifically first with our criminologists from the University of Texas San Antonio, Dr. Mike Smith and Rob Tillier, and also with the South Dallas Employment Project and MetroCare to provide our clients and their immediate family with free critical resources. Help in these areas like housing, meals, clothing, transportation, job readiness and training, job placement, health and wellness services, addiction rehabilitation, mental health counseling and resources, just to name a few. Our goal is to serve these individuals as clients and for them to have a better life for them and their families. But if we want them to succeed, because when they succeed, so do we. If they don't succeed, as I've often said, it's not going to be for spitting on the sidewalk or running a red light. If they don't succeed, it's because someone else in our community has been victimized. But please, as I often say, and as I told the clients a few weeks ago, do not mistake this kindness for weakness. If you elect to commit violence in the city of Dallas, we will come get you. We are very good at what we do, and we will not tolerate violence in our city. We will not tolerate our neighborhoods in pain. I'll go to community meetings constantly, and I hear the pain in neighborhoods and our neighborhoods screaming for justice, screaming for accountability. So do not mistake this for kindness for weakness. Reoffending is not an option, and we will not let violent activity become the status quo in Dallas. The partnerships that we have, including with our U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, the State District Attorney's Office, as well as probation, parole, ATF, DEA, FBI, and others. And those who violate our laws, again, will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Our goal, however, is not to arrest our way out of violence that's affected the city for years, but to positively change lives. Our promise is to serve and protect the people of Dallas. This program is part of that promise, and it would not be even close to being a vision or a reality if it weren't for the great partnerships that we enjoy here in Dallas. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a few questions.
Yes.
Could you explain what is Operation Take Aim?
Right. We've always, as you've heard the law enforcement partners here today explain, had a very close collaboration with ATF, DPD, other area police departments, but we've increased that. We have some internal procedures to more closely vet every gun case that comes through the door to try and match it with sort of the community impact of that case where we're going to take it. We have increased meetings with ATF. We have people there all the time. Every week we have meetings with managers with ATF here in Dallas. In fact, I have some of these dedicated prosecutors here today who have some of these meetings. We have meetings every week about Project Safe Neighborhood, where we're vetting specific defendants in those areas. So it's a more close look at every single gun case that and other violent crime cases, such as this interstate robbery interference that we could charge to try and have a focused impact by the prosecutions that we handle. Yes.
Are you able to federally prosecute any gun crime in Dallas?
Right.
Or does it have to meet certain qualifications?
No, that's a great question. It depends. So one of the most charged statutes we have is if someone who is a prohibited person, as we call them, has a gun. That can be, most often it's a felon who has a gun. A lot of the people who tend to commit violent recidivist crimes are felons. So that is probably the most used statute that we have. But we also have other types. You've heard of the misdemeanor crime and domestic violence prohibition. If they have been convicted of that, we look for cases where they have either a prior assault conviction that qualifies and then they have a gun, or if they have a history of domestic violence, but they are qualified as some sort of prohibited person, we take that too. But we also do gun trafficking. We do straw purchaser cases, which is when someone lies to get a gun for someone else who might do something bad with it. Anyone who buys a gun who knows it's going to go to drug trafficking or another violent crime gets prosecuted. So we have quite an array of laws that we can use. If they use a gun in a crime of violence, which is what Mr. Suttles did here, that is a federal crime. So.
You said repeat violent offenders like Mr. Suttles get around, 7 years minimum?
Yes.
Do you think 7 years is enough for what people like him do?
I can't speak on what we would do in this case, but oftentimes what we do in such cases is argue for higher than what the mandatory minimum would be. There are guidelines in the federal system, and they do base it on your criminal history. And so Mr. Suttles, the court would look at his criminal history. It would look at the specific dangers, that his robberies caused. It would hear from the victims. And so it would be somewhere within the 7 to 27 year range. It would, in a lot of these cases, we argue for higher than that.
This may be a question for the chief, but was Mr. Solis on an ankle monitor? I heard you guys say he was on community supervision and deferred education from previous crimes. Was he on an ankle monitor when he committed three most recent ones? Do you know?
Do you want to stand up here?
I don't have specific knowledge of if he was on ankle monitor or not. Whether he's on ankle monitor, as you heard me say before, ankle monitor is not a deterrent for violent crime, regardless if he was or not. But just the fact of him having given these chances, the lack of accountability, quite frankly, in this case. But even with that, that would have been the type of individual that we would have had in our focused deterrence type of program. But certainly, we're trying to be the safety net when accountability fails us. But I'm not clear if he was on ankle monitor.
Chief, do you know how many murders to date we've had in Dallas Dallas County, and I understand there were possibly as many as 3 more this weekend. Is this kind of targeting stuff like that?
We're absolutely targeting things. Like, I don't know what in Dallas County. I know, as an example, going into June, in the month of June, we've reduced murder in the city to single digits, quite frankly. One of the dynamics too is we've had 2 very great years with regards to losing for our murder numbers. One life is too many. There's no question about it. I think the dynamic in the city is the sense of violence in the city is not one life is too many, but it's with gun-related aggravated assault. And our gun-related aggravated assaults have dropped in the city again. Overall violent crime is down double digits again in the city. We are here to reduce incidents. But certainly individuals that are repeat offenders that are committing violence, these are the ones that we're trying to target.
I think we'll do one more question.
I wish.
Bueno, aquí estamos juntos, todos nosotros, porque estamos trabajando duro, todos nosotros, solamente aquí en el departamento de Dallas, pero también con las agencias federales de nosotros. Cuando tenemos problemas, todos nosotros estamos trabajando juntos. Queremos que la gente que estén en una vida de violencia, que pueden, que nos oigan, que queremos ayudar, pero que no hagan nada más violente en nuestra ciudad, porque vamos a trabajar juntos para quitar esas personas de nuestras calles. Y no solamente el departamento de Dallas, pues todos nosotros aquí trabajando duro, especialmente todas las agencias federales que nosotros tenemos.
¿Puedes hablar exactamente cuál sería el enfoque de esta iniciativa?
Es viendo personas que pueden estar en una vida de violencia y darle servicios a ellos antes que comiten otra caso de violencia. Es lo que estamos haciendo juntos. Nosotros lo estamos haciendo en Dallas y también lo estamos haciendo con la ayuda de nuestras agencias federales también. Pero el punto es identificar las personas que han cometido muchos casos de violencia y también darle servicios y que nos oigan, que agarren estos servicios, porque si no, y si van a seguir una vida de violencia en nuestra comunidad, entonces todos nosotros vamos a estar buscando. Y nosotros no vamos a parar, hacemos nuestro trabajo bien. Y si ellos quieren vivir una vida libre, que tengan, que nos oigan y tengan la oportunidad de tratar los servicios que le estamos dando.
Mencionó de 3 cosas entonces de su approach. Después, si es en español ahora también.
Nosotros estamos en nuestra comunidad, estamos identificando las áreas en nuestra comunidad que ha pasado violencia. Y ahí en esas áreas en la ciudad estamos poniendo más oficiales que están ahí en esa área para que estén vigilantes de lo que está pasando. La segunda parte de lo que estamos haciendo, estamos haciendo vecindarios que sabemos que han tenido una historia de violencia y viendo esa área que necesita ayuda, que no solamente el departamento de policía que tiene que entrar a quitar el elemento criminal, pero que el departamento de policía trabajando con los servicios de la ciudad que puedan mejorar la situación. Si las calles necesitan ayuda, si necesitan un parque para que los niños puedan jugar, si necesitan más luces. Y eso es lo que estamos haciendo en la segunda parte. La tercera parte es, como expliqué ahora mismo, identificando individuales que han cometido actos de violencia y darles servicios a ellos para que no sigan en esa vida. Porque si ellos fallan, van a fallar porque otra persona en nuestra comunidad ha sido una víctima.
Entonces, el plan es antes y también después de que se cometa el crimen.
Antes y después, sí, también.
Chief, bluntly, do authorities need better gun control?
Well, here's the thing that I'll speak on gun control. We need accountability. Because what I'll say to this is the violent crime that's being committed are committed by individuals that shouldn't have a firearm to begin with. And so we need to start there. And as I've often said before, and I'll say it again, we don't get to say we are serious about gun crime in this country, and particularly here, when my men and women go out, risk their lives to arrest an individual that has just committed a crime with a firearm, and then to see that individual back on the street within a week or 2. We don't get to say that. So until we hold individuals that are actually committing acts of violence with firearms accountable, then we can start talking about that we take violent crime seriously.
Okay, folks, thanks so much. If you have any other questions, you all know where to find me. You can shoot me an email, you can give me a call. And thanks so much for coming today.
Thanks.
You're more serious.